Hey everyone, this is Mo Twister, and you're listening to the Kingdom Podcast with the voice DJ Yuki.
That was the OG, Mo Twister, promoting this podcast. If you like Korean pop culture, or know someone who does, then get into it, and visit our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages at the Kingdom Pod PH.
We're proud to tell you that this is one of the premier shows to go to for your weekly dose of K-pop. So drop everything and listen to the Kingdom Podcast. Available in all your podcast streaming platforms.
Join us!
If you like this episode, please rate the podcast 5 stars, 6 and take it home. This podcast is a member of Bun Collective.
Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. And this is the MTV Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast.
Ayun, welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. This is the MTV Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast with my collective. Of course, announced this on Gang a few days ago that we're going to have a very special guest on the podcast. Since we're going to talk about Stardom, not only Stardom, but we're going to talk about the New Japan or the IWGP Women's title, and of course the recent last woman standing matches in professional wrestling from Impact and WWE. And we're going to dog show basically Disney Plus. On tonight's episode of the podcast, we got one of the guys behind the Women's Wrestling Talk, and of course his own podcast, Turning Hill Podcast. We got Troy Gonzales on the MTA Show Podcast. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Kamusta ka?
I'm good. I'm pissed. Ayun. So, first and foremost, please introduce yourself to our bunkmates. Baka kasi, syempre, your first time here on the podcast.
Tama.
Yeah.
Okay, so hello bunkmate. So ako si Troy Gonzales. So been a wrestling fan siguro mga since 2010. Kasi parang SVR 2010 ako nagsimula maglaro ng wrestling game sa PSP. Nung uso pa yung PSP dati. So doon ko na-discover yung wrestling. And then, na-enjoy ko siya, pero more on women's wrestling yung na-enjoy kong product in the wrestling industry. So parang yun yung specialization. Pero may mga alam naman akong ganap sa men's wrestling. Paminsan-minsan din naman. So yun, yung passion ko for the wrestling industry and women's wrestling as a whole, nag-motivate sa akin to start my own show. So Turning Heel with Troy Gonzales. So usually nagre-review ako ng pay-per-views. Right now WWE lang, pero gusto ko rin AEW and maybe even Impact in the future. Pag mas marami na akong time, kasi as of now, medyo full-time student din ako in college pa. So, may 3 years pa ako bago graduate. So, medyo sideline muna yung wrestling stuff ko ngayon. So, medyo mahirap din isingit paminsan-minsan. Pero, quite recently, nag-apply din ako as a news writer for Women's Wrestling Talk. So, ayun, gumagawa ako ng news articles. Although, medyo onti pa lang nagagawa ko. But sooner or later, hopefully, mag-branch out din ako to other wrestling publications. Yun lang.
Yeah. Sana nga mag-podcast ka na rin on them. Kasi di ba they're doing content. They're doing content as well. And personally, wala pa ako nakikita kasi I thought that you're going to join there as well as a podcaster. But I guess, no.
Writing
first thing.
for now.
First and foremost, kamusta sa'yo? I'm going to ask you this. It's a very crucial question, especially with the women's revolution. What is the state of women's revolution right now?
I feel like nasa tamang direksyon naman siya. Like, compared syempre dati, di ba, nung, as I said, nagsimula ako manood noong 2010, so obviously, Divas era. So, wala masyadong oras. Parang mga 5 minutes lang sila sa pay-per-view. If not, wala sila sa pay-per-view at all. So, syempre, kumpara sa panahon dati, parang mas may oras sila ngayon, mas na-enjoy ko siya. Although na-enjoy ko din naman yung dati. Pero since mas may platform sila ngayon mag-showcase ng mga talents, in-ring stuff, tsaka character nila, mas na-enjoy ko siya ngayon. But feeling ko there's still so much more to go. Um, Specifically even outside of WWE kasi hindi lang naman WWE pinapanood ko. Syempre, there are still things that need to be done for women in wrestling outside of WWE. Medyo pinaparinggan ko na yung NWA kasi alam mo na marami silang marami silang mga ganap ngayon when it comes to kalimutan ko yung pangalan ng parang head nila or something. Pero may mga questionable takes siya
Billy
about women's
Corgan?
wrestling. Yep, him. So, alam mo na may mga sinasabi niya na hindi pa siya sure kung gusto niya magpa-NWA Empower 2 or like the all women's pay-per-view na NWA just because he doesn't feel like female wrestlers can carry a pay-per-view, which I disagree with. So ayun, feeling ko there's still so much more to go pero we're going in the right direction naman.
Screw Billy Corgan.
For sure.
He's a fucking parasite. did did you know one big mistake of Billy Corgan holding his shit is putting the title, NWA World title, on Tyros,
I've heard of this.
and I don't fucking like it, man. Like, holy man, I know the only purpose of putting the title on him is because the Fox News show, yun lang naman ang dahilan nila kasi they need viewers. Kasi hindi sila nag-work sa Fight, hindi sila nag-work sa YouTube. But the guy doesn't suit NWA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree ako.
Anyways, we're not going to talk about that. Ayun, so yun lang naman sa akin. I don't give a fuck about him anyways. So, let's go to the women's now. So, first, how's Disney Plus to you? So far.
Disney Plus. So, ito nag-subscribe lang talaga ako sa Disney Plus kasi una, outside of WWE, sobrang daming content. Outside of yung mga nasa Netflix. Kasi yung Netflix medyo, alam mo, matagal na nasa Philippines, so marami nang napanood, wala na ibang mahanap. So, medyo nakakasawa din. So, sabi ko, sige, mag-subscribe sa Disney Plus para mapanood ko yung different shows. Tapos, nung in-announce din na siya yung magiging new home ni WWE Network sa Pilipinas, sabi ko, sure, why not, diba? So, hindi ko lang masyado ginawa yung research kung ano exactly yung collaboration na ito ng Disney Plus and WWE Network sa Pilipinas. But sabi ko, sige, for the wrestling fan inside of me, kukunin ko na lang siya para ma-enjoy ko din yung product. And of course, Disney itself, ang daming movies, ang daming shows. Kaya sige, mas feeling ko masasulit ko naman ito. So, nung na-launch na siya I believe nung 17 at November 17. 17th, ayun. So, binuksan ko siya, check out ko yung ibang show. Sabi ko, okay, mukhang sulit naman ang binayad ko kasi diba annual payment siya. So, check out ko yung iba't ibang shows and then nakita ko yung WWE category. Tapos napansin ko parang, okay, so merong WrestleMania 38, Saturday, Sunday, merong Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, ano pa ba? Meron pang Total Bellas, although walang Total Divas, pero okay lang yun sa akin. Kasi may WWE Network pa naman, nandun pa rin naman siya.
Content eh.
Diba? Tapos, ano pa ba meron? WWE 24, Day Off, etc. Chronicle din ata. Tapos sabi ko,
Royal Rumble 2022.
Royal Rumble, yun din. So sabi ko, ito na ba yun? Pero feeling ko dadagdagan naman nila as time goes on. Which ay, dapat lang naman. Which feeling ko they will naman. Pero for what it is ngayon, sakto lang. Parang hindi siya yung main focus ko pag nagdi-Disney Plus ako. Kasi sabi ko nga diba, medyo mahilig ako sa Family Guy. So sinusulit ko yung subscription ko sa Family Guy and sa other TV shows na hindi available sa Netflix. Pero for now, hindi ko pa siya masyado nagagamit for WWE Network purposes. So, medyo sakto-sakto lang ngayon.
Hindi. Ang problema kasi with this deal is, di ba, isasara rin nila yung WWE Network. Once we got almost all of the content, just like what the hell they did to Indonesia via Disney Plus Hotstar. And it's very tactical na I hope naman na madadagdagan nila yung content eventually. Pero I don't know. I'm not that impressed. I watched,
Fair enough.
napanood ko yung concert ni Elton John sa Disney Plus. In fairness, maganda yung UI ng Disney Plus for Live. In fairness lang, I said it here on the podcast. So, I'm impressed. But, WWE, good luck. Yan ang talaga masasabi ko. Good luck.
Oh.
Kasi ito yung dapat isipin ng fans, not especially the listeners of Turning Hill, dito rin sa podcast. Once na masara yung WWE network natin, wala na tayong option aside sa One Sports Plus. And of course, Top DMV kundi si Disney Plus. Wala rin tayong weekly shows on Disney Plus, which is kind of bummer. I discussed this a few days ago, but I'm going to orient people again. Just, okay, it's very stupid at this point not to have weekly shows on Disney Plus, to be honest. And yeah, it is. I don't want to talk about that. First, let's go to the purpose. That's why I invited you on the show. I'm going to ask you this. What is your favorite women's wrestling stipulation so far na-introduce nila, just like the Elimination Chamber when they introduced it in 2018, Money in the Bank, sorts like that. What is your favorite one so far?
Has to be Hell in a Cell. Just because parang, sabi ko nga, lumaki ako watching wrestling through the video games. So, palagi ko nilalaro dati. And sa video games, yung mga women's wrestlers or mga divas back then, pwede mo naman sila ilagay sa Hell in a Cell or sa Elimination Chamber or sa kahit saan. So, sabi ko, bakit sa totoong buhay, ba't wala sila doon? So, ayun, nung nangyari na yung lahat ng mga first evers nung era ni Sasha and ni Charlotte nung 2016, which medyo messy yung
Oh,
hot potato nila, but at the end of the day, ang gaganda rin ng matches. So, sino ba naman ako para complain, di ba? Pero,
reklamo.
oo, magreklamo. Pero the moment na nag-Hell in a Cell sila, sabi ko, okay, wait, parang iba to sa Iron Woman match, iba to sa Last Woman Standing, or sa Falls Count, anywhere nila. Kasi ito parang may cage talaga. Hindi lang siya yung cage na nakapalibot, parang lumalagpas siya sa ring hanggang siya sa ring side. So sabi ko,
Oo.
ay, interesting.
Sumobra pa nga eh.
Tapos, oo nga sobra pa. Tapos, if ikukumpara mo sa mga guys na nasa Hell in a Cell dati, si Undertaker or si Mankind, Kane, parang ang lalaki ng mga lalaking to, di ba? Pero si Sasha at si Charlotte, syempre, women, mas maliit in size. So, parang mas lumalaki tignan yung chamber. So, nung nakita ko bumaba yung cell pala. So, nung nakita ko bumaba yung cell, sabi ko, shit, ito na talaga. Ito na talaga yung mga nilalaro ko dati. Nagiging totoo na. Nakikita ko na. So, ayun, ang
Hmm.
intense. Para siyang extreme rules na dinagdagan ng cage. Na pwede ka rin umakyat ng kung saan-saan. Although, hindi pa nangyayari sa women. Pero, yeah, feeling ko yun yung pinaka na-enjoy ko. And of course, yung Rumble. Who doesn't love the Rumble? Yun. I think it explains
Siyempre,
itself. Kaya sa
everyone
yung
loves
Rumble. Tama. Yun.
Pero ito, bonus natin yung sa Rumble. Sino yung pinaka-satisfying win for you?
Win. Siguro si Bianca nung 2021. Because feeling ko wala masyadong sure kung sino man nanalo nung time na yun. Feeling ko may mga naghula na baka si Alexa kasi parang yun yung peak nung Bray Wyatt character niya as like yung crazy gimmick
Oo.
niya. Or may mga nagsabi rin baka si Charlotte kasi if hindi ka sure kung sino man nanalo, si Charlotte naman palagi, 'di ba? So baka si Charlotte din, pero at the same time binibuild din nila si Bianca sa SmackDown. So hindi ka
Si
sure.
Bianca,
Oo, so feeling ko si
pwede.
Bianca yung favorite winner ko, I would say. Tsaka ang ganda rin kasi nung Rumble na yun eh. Ang daming returns na kung sino-sino, di mo in-expect.
Yes, definitely. Yun ang alam ko. Pero, if the worst, okay, let's talk about opposite.
Kung worst, hindi naman worst, pero least preferred. Siguro this year.
Ah.
Siguro this year, hindi ako masyado satisfied sa return ni Ronda. Pero I will be fair ha, nung 2018, 2019 era ni Ronda, first run yan, enjoy ko siya. Kasi she was a fighting champion. Kasi I feel like nung bringing in siya, marami natakot na baka gawin siyang Brock Lesnar na MMA na undefeated na parang sisingit lang para kumuha ng championships, whatever. Pero naging fighting champion naman siya. Kinalaban niya si Alexa, alala ko may laban pa siya ni Ruby Riott dati, Ruby Soho, and so on and so forth. Ang dami niya
So,
kinalaban dati. So, respect ko siya
even Nikki
noon. Pero
Bella.
ngayon, and din Nikki Bella nung Evolution, oo. So, na-enjoy ko siya noon. And syempre, dinala niya rin yung championship to the main event of WrestleMania, di ba? For the first time for the women. So, he gets my respect
Oo.
there. Pero ngayon, parang ang daming masyadong magandang options manalo this year maliban kay Ronda. No offense to her kasi syempre you have Sasha who obviously has some history with Charlotte who was SmackDown Women's Champion at the time. You also have Naomi na medyo isang buong taon yung rivalry kasama si Sonya na umaasa yung fans na baka
That
sakali
disaster.
manalo ng Rumble. Oo. Sino ba mga gusto ko manalo last year? Maybe Bianca again, just because retribution kay Becky, revenge siya kay Becky, which nakuha niya naman. Pero hindi siya main event. So ayun, ang
Hindi
ang
alam,
daming
hindi bet.
options. Pero ayun, medyo siningit lang si Ronda, hindi ko masyado natuwa.
Ang
Siguro
random
pinaka-nainis ako
Plus,
nung
syempre,
ang
Mickey
random.
James.
Oo, Mickey James. Ayun, sorry,
Plus, there's
nakalimutan ko.
Big
Mickey
James.
James. Si Mickey James yung isa sa mga inasahan ko mananalo sana just because nung Impact, initis niya palagi na parang, okay, if I win the Royal Rumble, I'm defending the championship, the Knockouts Championship at WrestleMania. Which feeling ko sobrang historic nun kasi parang never naman sila nag-defend ng non-WWE Championship sa WrestleMania, di ba? So feeling ko,
Never.
gusto ng WWE, susulitin nila yung opportunity na yon. Pero, ayun, napunta kay
Oo.
Ronda. So, can I do? So, yeah, hindi ako masyado na-excited
Wala
kay
eh.
Ronda. Wala. Hindi ako masyado natuwa.
Ito, to be fair, both men's and women's winners of this year's Royal Rumble, they're both forgettable.
True. True.
Even Brock Lesnar, man. Si Brock, man, imagine mo, he won the title day one. He defended the title against Lashley on the same day. Tapos, nanalo ko ng Rumble. Tapos, ang damagdag pa doon, he won the Elimination Chamber, what happened there? It's so ridiculous. Para lang ilagay nila yung winner take all shit nila. And I fucking love. And I have a love-hate relationship on this. Tapos, hanggang sa na-unify. And the hostage continues. I'm done with that. And to be fair, Roman's run as champion so far. Wait, by the way, I'm going to ask you this since you already talk about this on your show.
Sure.
On your own rating scale, A to F, paano natin i-rate yung rate na to ni Roman Reigns as champion so far? Tama tayo, tuloy-tuloy.
Okay. For me, siguro mga B minus. May minus. Ganun kasi sa amin sa high school dati, may minus. Feeling ko B minus kasi hindi naman ako blind sa fact na nakaka-entertain yung matches niya. Palaging main event, palaging top star. Parang grabe talaga yung build up sa kanya as like the top star of the WWE. Pero at the same time, parang nasasayangan ako sa idea ng unified championship. Kasi parang dalawang championship siya, di ba? Na parang tinitreat as one. So sabi ko, nung si Becky,
same history.
Oo, true. Pero naisip ko parang nung si Becky, double champion siya. Tapos alam ko hindi naman siya ni-unify. Nag-double duty siya. Dalawa yung challengers niya. So sabi ko, baka pwede rin naman. Siyempre kasi sobrang laki ng roster ng WWE sa men's division. Sobrang daming may potential na maging world champion. And per pay-per-view, or minsan hindi nga siya nagde-defend sa pay-per-view. Like, at least once every 2 months, parang isa lang yung makakakuha ng challenger spot na yon. So, parang nasasayangan lang ako na ganun lang yung time na nabibigay sa mga gustong maging top stars or even gusto mapunta dun sa main event spot dun sa mga pay-per-views just because si Roman, isa lang talaga yung challenger na kailangan niya. So, yun lang. Pero overall, hindi ko naman dinedeny yung fact na ang ganda ng mga main event matches niya. So, yun. Si B-, hindi ko siya hate, pero hindi ko rin siya super, super love for the sake of the other men's wrestlers na hindi pa nakakakuha ng shot nila sa top gold.
Okay. That's na lang. Pakalma lang tayo. Okay, so first thing, we're going to talk about the last moment standing. Let's go back to the subject. So far, we have three this year. What's your favorite last moment standing matches ever?
Oh,
And we're going to
ever.
talk about the three.
Okay. Ever. Kung ever. Ano may mga last moment standing matches in the... Okay. Siyempre, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. Evolution. Just because sobrang laki ng stage ng para, alam mo yun, Evolution, first ever women's pay-per-view, tapos siya lang yung match
Mm.
na on that card na may stipulation. So sabi ko, okay, ito yung magiging good one. And even back then, medyo pinaglaban ko din na parang dapat ito yung main event over Ronda versus Nikki. Although hindi, wala
Kahit
naman
ako
akong
eh.
problema with that, I guess. Pero, in my
Kahit
personal
ako eh.
preference, mas gusto ko sanang sila yung main event. Pero, either way, it was a good match. So, ayun. Sino pa ba may mga last woman standing matches that? Ay!
Asuka
Okay,
Nikki
outside of,
Cross, that was a really good one.
that one as well. Pero you know what? Something na almost, munti ko na makalimutan. Nung TNA pa yung Impact, Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell for the Knockouts Championship. Iconic.
Ah,
Iconic.
yes, I love that.
Oo, yung
I
parang
freaking
in-RKO ni
love that.
Taryn si Gail off the stage. Iconic. Yun. Tsaka, yun yung isa sa mga favorite
Wow.
Impact Knockouts Championship matches ko of all time. And, ayun, I would say those two. Yun yung mga favorite last woman standing.
Ayan. So, speaking of the subject, we're going to debunk everything from the top. I would say the three last moment standing matches in November 2022. What? Sabi ko, what? We got three last moment standing matches in just 1 month. And iba-iba rin sila ng outcome. So, let's start with the Bianca versus Bailey match. Na-review mo na to on your show. Na-review ko na din to on my show. So, basically, we are agreeing naman siguro on the same outcome na we want a new champion. And it's very unfortunate that Bianca is still holding the title. What's your take on that?
So here's my take on it. Sabi ko na rin to sa show ko. Love ko si Bianca. One of my favorite, obviously, nung umalis sa Sasha and si Naomi, nawalan ako ng pag-asa, muntik na akong sumuko sa wrestling, pero sabi ko, okay, nandiyan pa naman si Bianca, ang dami pang bagong faces sa NXT, may pag-asa pa. May pag-asa pa ako maging fan, obviously. So, I love Bianca.
Oo.
I'm not gonna deny sobrang athletic niya. Even with just around more or less parang hindi naman 3, mga 5 years in the business, sobrang laki ng improvement niya as a top star. So, respect ko siya as a champion. And na-enjoy ko rin naman ang run niya. And deserve niya naman yung long title reign niya, especially knowing na there hasn't been a black champion in WWE, male or female, that has held the championship for more than 200 days. So, deserve naman niya yun for the representation. However, nung binalik kasi si Bailey and si Io and si Dakota nung SummerSlam, in-expect ko na, okay, so ito yung tatalo kay Bianca kasi tatlo sila and yun na, outnumbered si Bianca. So, sooner or later, I feel like si Bailey yung kukuha ng championship niya, which I feel like is still the case. I hope. Kasi, ang dami ng natalo, ang dami ng matches na natalo ni Bailey the past few months kay Bianca. So, feeling ko deserve niya
10 years.
magkaroon ng so feeling ko deserve niya ng at least isa for the championship, which in-expect ko after the loss sa Extreme Rules ladder match. In-expect ko na, sabi ko, sige, baka sa Crown Jewel, tapos baka they might pull a Toxic Attraction sa Damage Control na sa kanila mo pupunta lahat ng goal at the pay-per-view. Which, nung nanalo si Io tsaka si Dakota earlier on in the night, sabi ko, okay, ito na talaga yun. Ito na talaga yung mananalo na talaga si Bailey mamaya. However, hindi nangyari, which, ayun nga, love ko si Bianca, but at the same time, medyo 50-50 ako. Because happy ako na champion pa rin si Bianca. More challenges to come. But at the same time, si Bailey, ano nang gagawin niya ngayon? Kasi kung iisipin mo, siya yung leader ng Damage Control, pero siya pa lang yung wala pang championship sa kanilang tatlo. So, ano yun? Medyo
Again,
nakakalito
talo
lang
ng
in
leader.
terms of storyline. Oo, di ba? Anong kwento ng leader kung siya mismo yung walang gold? So, sooner or later,
Diba?
feeling ko kailangan niyang mapanulunan yung Raw Women's Championship. And as for Bianca, feeling ko she'll still be a star naman without the belt. So, yun. 50-50 ako. 50-50 ako kay Bianca as a champion right now. Although I love her so much.
Ayun, what's your rating on the match if you're going to rate on the 5-point system?
Siguro 4.75 naman siguro. Kasi ewan ko, na-enjoy ko talaga siya. Kasi
Kahit ako eh.
sinulit talaga nila yung buong napakahabang entrance ramp na yon na sabi ko baka one of these days gagamitin nila tong ramp for something crazy na hindi pa nagagawa before.
Oo.
Ayun, nung nakita ko nagmamaneho siya dun sa golf cart, akala ko talaga na bigla siyang pepreno tapos mahuhulog si Bailey sa table. But at the same time, sabi ko, safe ba yun? Baka ma-overjump ni Bailey or whatever. Pero, ayun, other than that, sobrang innovative ng spot kasi feeling ko ngayon sa mga stipulation matches, ang hirap mag-come up ng new spots na hindi pa nagagawa before kasi sobrang
Mm.
dami ng Extreme Rules matches, sobrang dami ng stipulation matches in the past. So, mahirap siyang hindi i-compare sa previous ones. Pero natuwa ako sa pagiging innovative nila. Parang yung paggamit ng steel step sa gilid, nung inipit ni Billy si Bianca dun sa ringside. Ano pa ba? Yung finish, yung paggamit ng ladder, medyo John Cena
Medyo John
Batista
Cena.
yung
Yun,
type.
ang genius
Oo.
eh.
Oo, at the same time, pero at the same time, ang genius, ang smart. O yun, natuwa ako sa mga very smart, innovative spots na napag-isipan nila regardless of no matter kung gaano karami ng last woman standing or last man standing matches have happened in the past. Nagawan pa rin nila ng paraan na gawing fresh. And, ayan. And of course, the fact na nasa Saudi sila na alam mo, women are finally getting to do stipulation championship matches in Saudi Arabia. Syempre nakaka-proud. So, yun. 4.75 out of 5.
Wait lang, ano ba yung rating ko dito? I will check my history. Kasi, I have my notes here. I rated that match 4.5. Kasi sabi ko, ang kalahati nito, dapat ibibigay ko kay Bailey. Kasi si Bailey, it's for so long. Bakit nag-chase ka pa din ng taro? Dapat nga champion ka at this point. Ba't ganun ka pa din? Like,
Oh.
what's wrong with this booking, man? We need a new champion. Bianca is fine. But to see Bianca running her mouth, running her shit, parang it's too much for me on her hostaging the women's division. And maybe I'm still hoping that we're going to get the damage control all belts. Yun na naman sana. Then, eto. We're going to talk about next the Monday Rose versus Alba Fire. Personally, not my thing. But yeah, we got a revolution or we got an introduction on that match. So, what's your thoughts about that first? Kasi di ko nabigay na buo yung thought ko about that. Oh.
First of all, parang medyo out of nowhere siya kasi parang the week before lang siya in-announce. Tapos nagulat ako kasi parang ano ba, week after ba to ng Crown Jewel or 2 weeks after Crown Jewel?
2 weeks after. 2 weeks
2
after.
weeks after. So parang, syempre, feeling ko malaking part kung bakit ko siya hindi masyado na-enjoy was because kaka-happen lang nung Bianca versus Bailey na sobrang daming nag-enjoy. Tapos biglang may hahabol na last woman standing sa NXT na obviously, mas maliit na stage, mas maliit na arena, less stuff that you can do. Wala namang golf cart doon na pwede isingit. Pero, ayun, pati sa build-up, gets ko naman yung intense na ano mo, kinidnap ni Alba yung mga sina Gigi and si JC and everything. Pero sabi ko, enough na ba to para sa last woman stand? Ganun na ba nila kahit yung isa't isa? feeling ko, maganda siguro kung ibang stipulation siya para hindi siya ma-compare sa Bianca versus Bailey nung Crown Jewel. But at the same time, parang question ko, has the rivalry reached that level yet? Na ganun na nila ka-despise yung isa't isa. Which feeling ko, given enough time, sure, kaya naman. Pero in a span of 1 month, baka hindi pa masyado for me. So feeling ko, lahat ng mga factors na yon tapos the match itself, na for me, hindi siya masyado extreme. Parang regular no DQ match lang siya for me. Feeling ko yung reason ko ba't hindi ko siya masyado na-enjoy.
Plus, dagdag mo pa na nasa TV lang siya, hindi pay-per-view. So, medyo laking kalat lang.
Agree. So, feeling ko ang dami pa nilang pwede sanang gawin.
Okay. Oo. And, I hear it. Okay, so since my episode got fucked up from last week, so I'm going to give a short talk on that. Alam mo, I love the introduction of Isla Dawn here on this one. Pero for what? It's very random na knowing Alba Fire is on his her way out of the main roster of NXT main roster tuloy na sabi ko. Kasi it's annoying at this point. On her way out, why we're getting new this stuff? Ba't tayo nagkakaroon pa ng ganito? Dapat nga dito pa lang sa Mandy Rose Alba Fire. Pwede na siyang lumabas out of NXT. Pwede na siya mag-debut eh. And then, ibalik niya na lang sa KAIRI. For fuck's sake. We don't need this gimmick, man. Until now, I don't fucking like this gimmick. hindi ko masakyan. I know you like the gimmick, I think. But, I don't really care. I hate it. I love the KAIRI gimmick. Better.
Yeah, agree naman ako. Ang akin kasi, yung mga gimmick, yung mga gimmicky stuff for NXT 2.0, feeling ko mas bagay siya sa mga up-and-coming girls, yung mga walang wrestling background. Pero si KAIRI kasi, seasoned veteran siya, wrestled all over the world, sa Japan, sa Europe, sa America, everywhere. So, bakit mo i-repackage yung wrestling background niya into whatever this is? So, I see what they're trying to do na parang i-fit in siya doon sa up-and-coming set of girls sa NXT, like sina Tiffany, sina Electra, sina Lash. Pero hindi siya bagay dun eh. She's a veteran with experience in wrestling. Gano'ng katagal na po siya wrestling? Probably more than a decade, I guess. Based on how she wrestles. She's a veteran. So you don't need to repackage her. Nung dumating si Meiko sa 2.0, nag-repackage ba siya? Hindi. Nung dumating si Blair Davenport, nag-repackage ba siya? Hindi. Bakit si Kaylee Ray kailangan niya ma-repackage? So, yun. I like gimmicky stuff. I find it fun. But on the right people. Alam mo yun? So, yun. Di ako agree sa album.
For the right people, Wendy Chu. I freaking love Wendy Chu. You know how much I love her.
Right. Feeling ko, depende rin siguro sa tao on how they carry it. Si Wendy kasi medyo fun gimmick. Pero si Alba Fire, ano ginagawa niya? Parang nagsusunog lang siya ng kung ano-ano. Yun ang ginagawa niya eh. So,
special.
Ewan ko. Yun.
Ayun. Finally, from Impact Wrestling, this is my first time talking about Impact for a very long time on the show. Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich from Overdrive. Man, the extreme moment and spot about this match, doon pa lang, I can say, I freaking love this match. And of course, having TV14 advantage is a really big step up for me. So, I love this match overall. Yeah. Anyways, your thoughts.
Maganda siya. Pili ko, probably my second one. Right below Bianca and Billie. And also, I want to say na ang hirap pumili between the two of them just because ang ganda rin talaga nung kay Jordan and ni Masha. Ang ganda ng chemistry nila. Di ako sure if they work with each other outside of Impact, pero grabe talaga yung pagka-hard hitting nilang dalawa. And yun, sobrang grabe lang yung mga bumps na tinitake ni Masha. Nakakakaba minsan. Lalo na yung mga power bumps sa chair. Okay, alam kong matibay ka, pero ingat-ingat din minsan. Pero at the same time, professional naman siya. So we trust her. Pero grabe kasi yung mga powerbomb na tinitake niya to the chair, suplex sa ringside, ano pa ba? Yung muscle buster sa labas.
She took muscle buster in a door. Yeah. Like for fuck's sake.
So, sana okay pa yung spine niya. Pero, ayun, that level of intensity, doon ko naramdaman niya yung months, hindi naman months, but like weeks of build-up na wala doon kina Mandy and Alba. Yun yung kailangan ko sa kanila sana. And I feel like this was the right way to go na last knockout standing. And yun. Definitely also one of my favorites this year.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites as well in the women's division. Pero ito, obvious naman eh. Pwede natin sabihin na let's rank all of them 1 to 3. It's very obvious at this point. Okay ako, I'm going to say it here before we go to our first commercial. Bayley, personally, I love the Bayley Bianca. Wrong winner, however. 1, the Bayley Bianca. Number 2, Jordan and Masha. However, wrong winner then. And Mandy and Alba Fire. Doon kayo sa graveyard. you know the thing here. Graveyard. Sorry. I hate that yun.
Yan.
Okay. What's your rating skill about it? It's almost the same ba?
Same siya. Siguro explain ko na lang really quickly. Bianca Bailey first, just because of the feel na ang laki ng arena and sinulit talaga yung buong stage. Number one.
Oo.
Pero super, super close second talaga si Masha and si Jordan. But as you said, wrong winner. Champion pa rin si Jordan. Sino nakakalaban sa kanya? Parang tapos na lahat halos eh. And third, Mandy
Oo.
Alba. I've already said my thoughts. So, ayun. Not her best championship.
Mandi, pero ito, last thing before we go. Dami ko nang sinabing ganun. That's a running gag thing here. Seriously. So, Mandy Rose, on her 300 plus days as champion, paano natin dapat i-drop yung women's title out of Mandy Rose? For you, para mas ma-understand ba iba?
Mahirap kasi syempre how do you drop a championship after 300 days? Pero medyo natalo niya na lahat kasi natalo niya na si Wendy, si Mako, si Blair, si Alba, ano pa ba?
Roxanne,
Si
Cora Jade.
Roxanne, Cora Jade, Io. Pero feeling ko at this point, the only sensible person na pwede siyang talunin, si Nikira. Hindi, joke lang. Hindi si Nikira. Hindi si Nikira. Si Roxanne. Si Roxanne lang talaga.
Actually, Nikita is okay. Nikita is okay.
On
But,
paper. On paper.
on paper
Oo.
lang.
On paper lang. Pero
Like-
kung ako, no, wag naman.
Like,
It's not right.
parang, you know, parang si Triple H, you know, he loves ass and tits. But, at this point, I don't want to see Nikita as champion, no disrespect. Even Tiffany Stratton, man, she's not ready yet for the title. And Roxanne, she's 21. Marami pa siyang magagawa. I swear, nakapagpunta na siya sa SmackDown, main roster. I hope nga na siya yung manalo ng Royal Rumble. But, let's lose. So, on our second half, Troy and I will come back with more wrestling talk, of course. We're going to talk about the Stardom. Pasensya na 35 minutes. Ayun, so 35 minutes na to. I'm not saying to you, I'm saying to the fans. So we're going to take our first commercial break. Let's check our bunkmates here on Bunk Collective.
Picture this: two guys talking about true crime,
Weird mysteries.
horror stories,
But the conversation is light.
mostly funny.
And sometimes naughty.
This is
A
Scriptsalog.
Spotify exclusive.
I'm Gideon.
And I'm Glenn, and we're serving huge portions of horror and true crime twice a week.
We'll make sure your cravings are satisfied.
And you'll be begging for more.
Char.
Check us out.
This is Scriptsalog, available exclusively on Spotify.
Sales, profit, and engagement na naman ang usapan. Hey guys, Matt and Lance here. Corporate guys rin kami at pagod na rin kami sa ganyang usapang office. Ibahin naman natin ang mga kausap natin. Listen to guests from careers beyond the corporate scene with the Project Offbeat Career Podcast. Imagine talking to historians, gamers, teachers, and the like on how they live differently and succeed in their unconventional careers. Baka sakali, ito naman ang sign to pursue your passions. Kita-kits sa Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube.
So, welcome back to the show. Again, this is the MTA Show podcast in cooperation with Troy, of course, of the Wrestling Talk, Women's Wrestling Talk, and her podcast, of course, this podcast, Turning Face Podcast, or Turning Heel Podcast.
Turning heel.
Turning Heel Podcast. Wait, kailan ba magta-turn yan? Hindi, joke lang. Wait, can I ask you, where's the podcast with your co-host now? Is that podcast not really active na? Or
It's on hiatus. It's on
app?
hiatus. Yes, kasi siya, Jiggy, currently, parang mas nagfo-focus on personal matters and obviously, still in college. So sabi niya, sige, maybe you can take some time off, which agree naman ako. As for me, since, alam mo yun, medyo less load ako compared sa kanya, sabi ko, maybe kaya kong isingit yung podcast sa side by myself. Pero
At
ayoko
least
naman
mas
din
active pa
i-career
din
na,
yung podcast.
oo, but at the same time, ayoko naman i-push yung podcast ko with him, without him. Kasi syempre, co-founder din naman siya. May karapatan din naman siya show na yun. So sabi ko, Sige, I'll start my own brand for now. And maybe in the future, if things go well, then maybe pwede naman natin ibalik. But for now, more focused
Maybe,
ako sa turning heel.
maybe, mag-turn din siya sa'yo. Ay, joke lang.
Pwede naman, char.
Tayo na, ginamit pa yung sarili pangalan.
Oo nga.
Okay, welcome back to the show. You're still here on the Untoy Show podcast. Now, let's talk about the happenings on New Japan. First thing, what's your first impression on the IWGP Women's Championship? Since we got the match, we got the final last weekend, last Sunday. What's your early thoughts on that? Actually, my first thought of that, I hate the idea of having a woman's title. Like, you can put the title or you can bring Stardom to New Japan and you can bring Stardom to AEW. Ba yun? That's my first impression on that. I don't know what's your impression on that. So I'm going to ask you, what's your first impression of the women's title of IWGP? Think about
Yeah. So, actually, hindi ko naisip yun, no? Oo nga, no? Pwede rin naman yun. But at the same time, nung first ko siya narinig, sabi ko, actually, matagal ko na kasi alam yung New Japan. Well, di ko siya palaging sinusubaybayan. Pero, sabi ko, wala bang women dito? Which understandable naman because obviously in Japan, they have the sister promotion, si Stardom, which is an all-women, so si New Japan all-men. So, understandable
promotion.
naman. At the same time, sabi ko, hindi natin may pagkakailan na mas malaki yung reach ni New Japan and syempre mas known siya on an international platform. Although Stardom's beginning to get there din with the whole like inclusion of them sa PWI 150 ng women. I feel like medyo sumisikat rin naman sila
Mm.
nowadays. But at the same time, syempre, hindi mo pa rin pwede-deny na sobrang laki rin ng impact ng New Japan in mainstream wrestling na even some of the American or wrestlers in the UK go to Japan to wrestle there, so on and so forth. So nung in-announce nila na magkaka-women's championship na sila, sabi ko, okay, edi fun. I'm always here for more women having championships, more opportunities for women in major platforms. So yun, I wasn't against it. Enjoy ko siya. Although hindi ko rin masyado nasubaybayan yung like tournament itself, but I was there for the
Ako din.
I wasn't physically there. I was watching it here sa
Ah.
laptop. I watched the finals, of course, kasi I knew how historic it was. And ayun, na-enjoy ko naman yung whole idea behind it. Although now that you put things into perspective, oh nga, no, like, they could have just brought the Stardom Championship over since it was a historic crossover event as well. So, ayun. But at the same time, it's another championship for the women to fight for, so that's fine by me. Fine by me. Although, of course, I would love the Stardom Championships to also be featured more in mainstream
Hmm.
platforms.
AEW.
Tama,
Kasi
nagpaparinig
possible
na
na
ako.
rin yun eh. Actually, it's possible na rin at this point eh. Kasi, you know, the partnership between AEW New Japan, Impact, and New Japan, it's possible at this point. So,
Tama.
everyone, in case you missed the event on Stardom New Japan Historic X-Over, we're going to do a recap on that. So, Chaos defeated House of Torture in an 8-man tag. Queen's Quest defeated Dana Demondo in a 6-woman tag. Wow. When I read the results, it's basically a mixed tag all over. I read all
Oo.
of the results and actually nung nabasa ko yung card na on no in-announce, so it's basically a mixed promotion. And what? Okay. So CSJ and Gilia, I'm not sure about how to discuss this, but defeated Tom Lawler and Suri, the Stardom champion, as far as I know. Suzuki Gun and ano bang tawag dito? Nagkamali akong sulat, but fuck it. Meltier ba? Tama ba pagkasulat ko? Defeated Suzuki Gun and I don't care about this. Ang hirap basahin at this point. Ang
Okay lang
pangit na
yan.
sulat ko, I swear to God. Ang pangit na sulat ko, let's go to the main event. Will Ospreay and Shota Umino, they fought in a US title. That was a fun match for me. Actually, kung hindi ko pinili yung kina Eddie Kingston and John Akiyama from Full Gear, I'm going to pick this match. I might pick it, to be honest. And of course, main event, we're going to discuss this. But KAIRI, the first woman to win a New Japan and WWE Women's title. She defeated Mayu Iwatani in the finals of the tournament for IWGP Women's Championship. Let's talk about this. So, tama ba yung decision on putting the title on Kyrie, or it's just a pass? Ipapasa naman siya sa Wrestle Kingdom eventually. For you.
For me, okay, I'm gonna be honest ha. Nung main event, nung in-announce yung si Mayu and si Kairi yung finalists, as a Kairi fan, I was rooting for Mayu. Si Mayu yung mas prefer ko. Just because I feel like they equally deserve it. Deserve nila pareho. Both daughters of Stardom, both laid the foundation for whatever Stardom is today alongside CEO Shirai. So
Of
feeling ko
course.
equally yung claim nila to the belt. However, naka-travel na si Kyrie hindi naman all over the US
All the
with her
word.
time in
Valid na
WWE,
yan.
all over the world. So, ayun, she's been champion in WWE, in NXT, may yung Classic 2018 winner, 2017,
Oh.
ata. 2017 ba? Maalala.
18. 17.
Basta,
I think 17.
basta first ever, may yung Classic. Yun, siya yung winner noon. So, with all of these accolades, she returns to Japan to focus on her family, and quite recently lang din, she wanted to return to wrestling in Stardom. Whereas Mayu, on the other hand, parang she's been here the whole time, facing her fellow Joshi girls, wrestlers, and continuously elevating the product. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na tinaksil ni Kairi yung Stardom, ha? Pero I'm just saying na mas
Oo
prefer ko
naman.
si Mayu manalo just because she didn't have the opportunities that Kairi had in the US.
Oo.
So, which I feel like definitely possible pa rin naman na si Mayu mag-travel sa US to have matches even on AEW, WWE, maybe Mayang Classic 3 if plano nila yon. But she hasn't had that big historic moment yet. So I would have loved na kung si Mayu yung maging first IWGP Championship. Also for the unpredictability factor, I feel like obviously most of the wrestling fans in the US who watch WWE would be rooting for Kyrie. But as someone who's seen Mayu's work like before pa, I would have loved for her to have this moment. Pero no hate naman kay Kyrie. I love Kyrie. I used to have a fan account for Kyrie sa Instagram. Tagal na 'yon. Pero pero happy ako. Happy pa rin naman ako sa outcome. However, I'd still love to see women outside of obviously Kyrie, Mayu, and Io. Si Io obviously nasa US naman na. But women in Japan outside of Kyrie and Mayu to hold the championship kasi as someone who doesn't watch it consistently myself, gusto ko rin ma-get to know yung mga iba't ibang talents na nag-come up and about ever since umalis si Kyrie and si Io from Stardom. So, yun lang yung inaabangan ko.
Yeah. So, okay. So, if you're going to ask you, di ba, may announcement na about the first challenger, that's Tam Nakano for Wrestle Kingdom 17. That's the first time that the IWGP Women's title will be defended. So, I'm going to ask you this. If, di ba, may partnerships tala with WWE. I said this all the time, pero WWE is a possible one since there's Carl Anderson doing his shit in US right now. Still, they never appoint big champion. At this point, WWE is a big possible thing. So, ito, I'm going to put things in perspective. Current lang. Sino yung gusto mong maging potential challengers in the US, in their brands? In AEW, in Japan, US, maybe Impact Wrestling, and yeah, mga matches for the long.
Okay, so kung from WWE, marami. Well, obviously, Meiko Sarumura, pick ko siya. one of my favorites of all time.
Definitely.
I'll definitely bias towards obviously Japanese siya, so like why wouldn't she deserve a chance at it? Siguro when Bianca drops the belt, maybe they could let her try it out just because she's only been familiar with American wrestling styles since he's only faced the likes of Sasha, Becky, Bailey, Charlotte, alam mo yun. So I'd like to see her try and wrestle with women in Japan. Although she's wrestled Bianca, Bianca, Asuka and Kairi naman na in the past. Pero iba pa rin yung feel kapag nasa Japan ka
Sa Japan. Oh.
Kung AEW, siguro si Britt, obviously top star. With she's obviously not in the title picture right now. Syempre, kinalaban niya lang si Saraya recently. And I feel like ginagawa nila yun para mas magka-time yung other women ng AEW to showcase their stuff. So obviously, yun, congratulations to Jamie Hayter, Tony Storm for getting that amazing moment. And so I feel like si Britt medyo playing low outside of the title picture siya for now. So maybe siya rin. As for Impact, Giselle Shaw. Love ko si Giselle Shaw. Alam mo na, kapwa kababayan. Love ko si Giselle Shaw. Filipino pride. I need to see Giselle Shaw wrestle in Japan at least once. So yun. Those are my three.
Ayun. So ako, gagatong din ako kasi gusto kong gatungan yung take mo. First one, I would say, baka makalaban ni Ishida, si KAIRI eventually. I want both of them so bad for the title eventually. And Impact naman. Impact, kasi, tapos ko, andun pa ba si Taya? I think Taya is still there. Taya is impressive, as far as I know. She's fine. She's fine. And she's a good wrestler, as far as I know. Unfortunately, matanda na rin siya. So, give her a moment. For fuck's sake, Impact. Huwag niyong hayaan lang sa women's tag team tayo. Picture lang siya. And, WWE, hirap ilagay ng mga 4 horsewomen. I would say, I don't like Lexi. Lexi, di siya bagay. Di rin bagay sa mga taga-NXT. I would say, ayaw na lang magbigay. It's very
Wala na lang.
Wala na lang. Pero maybe, mga 4 horsewomen, at this point, they can fight her. Asuka, pero naglaban sila eh. So, hindi ko siya malagay to the perspective eh. So, it's hard. So, i-block ko na lang. Pero ito, last thing. If pag-uusapan natin KAIRI versus Tam, transitional lang ba to? Para sa'yo? Hindi naman.
I hope not. Sana hindi. Kasi this is your first women's champion sa New Japan. So, ang pangit naman pakinggan kung transitional champ lang si KAIRI tapos biglang after her first defense, mawawala na yung championship sa kanya. Ano yun, Alexa Asuka? Ang unfair naman sa kanya, especially for such a historic moment, diba? Pero, as I said earlier, I want this championship to be sort of parang yung exposure ko sa mga Japanese wrestlers na hindi ko pa masyado na familiarize myself with nandun sa Stardom ngayon. So, ayun, hopefully this match shows me rather, like papakita niya sa akin kung ano yung mga kayang gawin ni Tam Nakano in the ring kasi I haven't seen her that much yet. So, ayun. In case manalo siya, mapanalunan niya yung championship, okay. Hindi ko, I would prefer her not to just because first defense to ni KAIRI and sobrang historic ng win niya. So, ayoko naman mawala yun na parang wala lang.
Tapos maulit pa yung deja vu sa kanya nung nasa WWE pa siya.
Oo. Unfair.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so speaking of women, let's talk about the moment as well. So, mabilis na lang to. We're going to talk about the War Games since War Games is coming this Sunday. And of course, I'm going to do a prediction on this on my own podcast. So about this, who is the 5th member of Team Bianca based on your own preference?
On my own preference? Okay, so since go home show na ng Raw today, in-expect ko talaga na today nila rin i-announce just because puros Raw yung women sa War Games. Pero they said na sa SmackDown na daw siya i-announce. So sabi ko,
SmackDown.
So sa SmackDown ba nila i-announce lang or sa SmackDown mismo galing yung 5th member? So kung sa SmackDown mismo galing yung 5th member, which I would assume is the case kasi why would they do it on SmackDown if sa Raw yung 5th member? It has to be Liv. I feel like it has to be Liv because of the way they're building her up. This whole crazy character, her history with Rhea Ripley as her former tag team partner, and obviously,
Mm.
anong gagawin niya sa Warriors sa Survivor Series? Wala. Because obviously Ronda's facing Shotzi, which I almost forgot about. Pero alam mo yun, anong gagawin ni Liv in the meantime na medyo talk of the town siya ngayon eh. Like hindi siya champion pero people are
Oo.
seeing na oh she's switching things up. She's doing something new with her character, medyo crazy, wild, so on so forth. So if
Mm.
they're getting someone from SmackDown, it has to be Liv. It has to be Liv. Other than Liv, the only other person I can see is baka si Raquel, just because obviously powerhouse, friend ni Bianca, I believe, somewhere, and I think my history sila ni Rhea na NXT, so it's either Liv or Rhea. Ay, Liv or Raquel. Yun lang yung nakikita ko.
Ah, pero realistic naman based on our sources. Yung mga nababasa natin, any thoughts on Becky and Bianca? Possibly the fifth members. Yun na lang last time before we cut.
I'm not mad about Becky being a part of it naman because obviously nung SummerSlam she turned face and sort of showed her
Ah,
respect to Bianca. Gets naman. Pero parang ewan ko, parang I get how it makes sense kasi she was there right before Damage Control came for Bianca, Alexa, and Asuka but she got injured. Gets ko naman yung storyline wise pero ewan ko parang ang weird ng timing. Ang weird ng timing for me. I'm not saying she wouldn't do well. I feel like bagay sa kanya yung ganung type of stipulation pero ewan ko. Are people expecting or would people be excited for Becky? Yes. But ewan ko, something feels off. Parang sa timing. Ewan ko kung sa timing or sa storyline wise, bigla siyang dadating out of nowhere the day before the pay-per-view. Pero, ayun, I'm not mad about it, pero hindi rin ako super, super stoked. Yun lang.
Sasha Banks kasi pag ito kasi the last name here got was Sasha Banks. Like, for what? Come on, stop this Sasha BS. I'm going to say this once and for all. I like Sasha. I like her. But come on, Pips. Sasha is not coming back. Pag bumalik siya, sige, babawiin natin lahat ng sinabi natin dito. Pero, let's face it, guys. Hindi porket sa Boston gagawin na pwede ang War Games. Dapat si Sasha. Kapo. Ang
Pwede
labo.
nun yun.
Pero, if Sasha is coming back, congratulations. Sana matalo kayo. That's my last hope. And, hindi ako bitter dito ah. Linawin ko, hindi ako bitter kay Sasha. I don't hate Sasha. But Sasha, being the fifth member of Team Bianca, aside from her fighting Bianca in WrestleMania 37, kung yun lang naman ang ilalagay nilang reason, because she knows the respect between Bianca and Sasha. Blah, 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 blah. Labo. And I hate the idea of the randomness. Ito, aside niya, ito the fact na I hate the idea that they are building this War Games in just 3 episodes of Raw, 3 episodes of SmackDown. Feeling ko it's not enough. Ayan, NXT nga. Buti nga NXT, nakaka-build sila in just, at nung huling War Games, na-build nila yun in at least 5 episodes. Ang problema, on main roster kasi, they have it. And I don't know what's wrong with it. Kasi hindi pa nila nabibuild. But di sila nag-build agad ahead of Crown Jewel. Like, Crown Jewel is there, panggulo. Not really a pay-per-view or premium event. Kundi parang panggulo eh. Parang, like, this is Survivor Series. The last pay-per-view or premium event of the year. And we're not getting a proper build-up for War Games. It's exciting to watch the War Games, but yun na yun. That's my thinking. Yun na yun. Like, for both men and women, I'm going to discuss more on Friday, but I'm not satisfied. Ewan ko, kung ganun din sentiments mo doon. But, yeah. Siguro
Same
naman,
rin.
magbibigay naman tayo ng justice. Siguro naman, bibigay naman tayo ng justice towards the match. Sa match mismo. And let's do this. So, recently, I saw your post and as well as your tweets on Twitter, of course. Ano Twitter? Alangan na mag-tweet ka sa Facebook. Nako.
Mga
Talaga
naman.
ako. So, I saw your stuff on Women's Wrestling Talk. Can you share some background on it? Kasi malamang hindi pa alam ng ating mga pangmates kung bakit we joined Women's Wrestling Talk.
Yes. So, Women's Wrestling Talk, or what we call the number one women's wrestling show on the planet. Yun, galing, no? So it started back then as Women's Wrestling Showcase, but then nag-evolve siya into Women's Wrestling Talk. So sinimulan siya ni TK Trinidad, but now nag-expand na yung team into different writers, different hosts. So ngayon, they do interviews, recaps, after shows, etc. And they also have news articles. So, recently, nakita ko yung post nila. Actually, matagal ko na silang alam. And matagal na akong interested na, I was like, maybe pwede ako sumali. However, nakita ko yung picture nila sa Instagram. Lahat sila babae. And I don't identify as a woman naman. So sabi ko, okay, baka it's a female-led website and channel on YouTube. So sabi ko, okay, support ko na lang sila. Pero nakita ko sooner or later, just this past October na open pala siya for all. So sabi ko, okay, sulitin ko na yung time ko, mag-apply na ako. And ayun, they were hiring for hosting, which is yung mga nasa after shows and interviews, and for writers. So yung sa news articles and news recaps. So ako, as much as I would love to host, as you said, parang inabangan mo na nandun sana ako sa mga hosting after shows. Oo. Ang naisip ko kasi, siguro for now, mas mag-focus muna ako sa show ko mismo sa Turning Heel. Doon muna ako mag-hosting and interviews and stuff. And maybe later on, kapag nagkaroon na ako ng mas maraming time, pwede na ako mag-branch out into that. Pero right now, medyo gusto ko muna mag-focus sa Turning Heel and gusto ko rin ma-develop yung writing skills ko when it comes to researching for potential topics, fact-checking, and yun, in the field of wrestling, mag-come up ng mga articles. So ayun, kasi medyo gusto ko rin mag-branch out to other wrestling news outlets such as Wrestling Inc., for example, WrestleZone, ano pa ba? SE Scoops, maraming ganyan eh. And minsan, syempre, since mas malaki, minsan may bayad na. So alam mo yun, as a college student, why would I not want to have that sideline with a part-time income? So ayun, while doing the thing that I love. So yun, nag-apply ako sa Women's Wrestling Talk. For now, hindi pa siya paid, but sooner or later, once na ma-establish ko na yung writer's portfolio ko, hopefully, doon na ako pwede mag-apply sa mga ibang publication. Pero ayun, kaya naman siya.
Yeah, so speaking of which, speaking of fact checking, I hope you all are fact check this shit. Kasi it's really hard to fucking see. If kahit wrestling, ang hihirap humanap ng tamang news about pro wrestling.
Tama.
Paano pa nag-uusapan yung news dito? Like, come on. You should look for reliable sources like Women's Wrestling Talk on your shit. Come on. Pag kayong asa lang sa mga ringside news, I'm going to say this explicitly, but come on, you're fucking assholes. Don't do. Okay. For fuck's sake. Kasi, alam mo naman, if you know, we don't know, maraming walang hiya sa ringside news. And, sana mawala na lang siya sa huli. Okay. So, before I let you go, we're going to have a fast talk here on the show. Sana lang naka-on pa yung mic mo. Kasi pag nag-timer ako, mag-on tayo agad ng mic. Mahirap. So, we're going to give you 1 minute. You're going to answer all the questions here on this list. And after that, we're going to do something. So, I'm going to include you. Okay. So, going to start the timer. 3, 2, 1, go. Ang hirap ah. Tama ba? Nag-play na? Yeah. Nag-play na. Okay. 49 seconds. Let's do this. Biggest mistake of WWE in their women's division? Uy, nakamit ka. Yo, check.
Oh my God, sorry. SmackDown Women's Division, kulang ng star power.
Okay, your dream match for KAIRI for her IWGP World title.
Basta as long as she gets to defend it constantly on major platforms.
Okay, one adjective on their respective divisions. WWE.
Ano yun? Sorry.
One adjective on their respective divisions. WWE.
Oh my gosh. Raw, enjoyable, SmackDown, lackluster, NXT, fun.
Oh my god, what the hell is this? Finally, I'm
Panic
Troy
ako slime.
Gonzales. And look at the statement. I am Troy Gonzales.
And I'm the host and founder of the Turning Heel with Troy Gonzales podcast.
Sorry for that disaster at the clock.
Okay lang, kinabahan ako slight. Nakalimutan ko, nakamute ako.
You answered 3 questions and it sucks.
Pwede na yun.
Sorry about that. Okay, picks of the week. Let's go picks of the week. Before we go, it's gonna be a disastrous week for me. Kasi Friday, I'm going to do a review of Full Gear, as well as predictions of War Games. Good luck on your own podcast. Baka next week ka pa mag-drop na. Good. So, my picks of the week. Okay, if you don't know picks of the week, we have woman, of course. Dinivert ko na siya into wrestler of the week. Of course, equality. So, women's and the superstar of the week is now merged into wrestler of the week. You can pick a wrestler or a woman that you like on that whole week. And of course, match of the week. Of course, my pick of the week for the men, of course, wrestler of the week. It's gonna be MJF. Man, he really deserves it. MJF really deserves the title at this point. The woman, actually, I'm going to say this here first on the podcast. Jamie Heater and, of course, KAIRI. I swear, KAIRI. It's a really hard decision for me. Decide. The match of the week. It's really hard. I'm gonna go with Sasha Slamovich on Overdrive, tsaka yung kay Eddie Kingston versus the Jun Akiyama match from Full Gear 0 Hour. How about you?
So for men's wrestler of the week, definitely see MJF then, just because I've seen like how much he's climbed the ladder sa AEW, well deserved yung championship win. Although medyo sad ako for the Blackpool Combat Club, so hopefully masort out din yon. As for women's wrestler of the week, same with you, Jamie Hayter, also well deserved, finally getting her moment. And siguro medyo super close na rin si Soraya. Obviously, I grew up watching that era of wrestling. Soraya was part of that division nung nanonood ako. So I'm really happy for her na she's finally wrestling again full time. Tapos kung match, probably the Oscar versus Rhea one just today nung Raw, because although I would have wished Oscar won, but at the same time, hindi masyado often na faces na nanalo kapag War Games advantage. So yeah, I'm fine with that. But also, of course, Tony and Jamie, full year, of course. Arguably one of the matches of the night. Yun.
Main kang Full Gear, let's face it, I'm going to say this before we do our vlogs. That was shit. Sorry, I'm saying this straightforward. That was shit. Okay. Any final plugs on the podcast?
Right. So if you want to see any of my work, you can check me out on Twitter at the Troy Gonzales, or on my linktree, linktr.ee/thetroygonzales. Tapos for my podcast, Turning Heel with Troy Gonzales, that's on Twitter at Turning Heel Pod, or on my linktree, linktr.ee/Turning Heel Podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, Troy Gonzales, Mr. whatever. Troy Gonzales, for joining this episode of the podcast. It was a really fun episode. I hope it's not the last time na to join the podcast. And I will invite him always kasi just in case na magkaroon tayo ng women's talk when it comes to maybe the things that I don't really you know what I'm going to.
Good.
I know. Kasi since dito sa podcast, I'm just pertaining to 4 shows, WWE, AEW, Impact, and New Japan. So maybe a little help for me, at least for the women's wrestling, if I could not talk about them on this podcast. So I would like to thank Joy for the wonderful discussion today. And to, of course, Bang Collective for this audacity to have stuff and this Discord stuff, this StreamYard thing, thanks to Bang Collective, of course. Ayan. So the podcast, by the way, I hope you all can follow us on social media at the MT Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast at the MT Show Pod on all the socials. Of course, YouTube at the MT Show Pod. I hope na ma-upload to sa YouTube. I hope this episode was not fucked up on YouTube. Kasi kung hindi na masisira sa YouTube, yeah, i-upload ko to sa YouTube. Yeah, so where's my notes here? So I hope you all can follow us on social media at MTA Show Pod, Bang Collective as well, the Bang PH, and follow nyo na ako sa Bang, sa gang, kautang na loob, gangnow.com/the MTA Show Pod. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can donate and support the podcast and gang. And follow me on social media, of course, at NJPW. And support Philippine wrestling, especially MWF, on their upcoming show at Nochebuena, December 11th at the Peta Theater in Quezon City. With the main event of Nochebuena is Fabio Makisig versus Jake De Leon for the MWF Championship. FPW, of course, we support then FPW. Follow me. And yung link TR ko, the MK Show Podcast. TR.ee/the MK Show Podcast. And behalf of Troy Gonzales of the Turning Heel Podcast in cooperation with Bang Collective. Of course, my name is Angela Pagana of the MK Show Podcast in cooperation with Bang Collective. See you on the next episode. Ang haba nito. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Picture tayo, tapos para
Sure.